Hi guys, it's me again, and this is my son Kelby. He's going to be helping me with today's speech. Today I chose the topic of Confederate War memorials and preserving them. I believe this is going to be an easy one to go through and actually be able to rebuttal against later on in our class. So anyways, let's get started, and I'm going to move kind of fast because there's a lot of information to cover in a short amount of time. So the Civil War, we all know, was fought between 1861 and 1865. The South seceded from the Union, which sparked this major war, and then it was actually fought. Another reason it was fought to free the slaves that were held in the South. So, kind of got through this. A lot of people believe that they are symbols of hate and oppression and racism, but that's not exactly the case. They are symbols of the people that fought and died for the beliefs that they had. In all, between North and South, according to Burke Davis, who wrote Strange and Fascinating Facts of the Civil War, 258,000 American men died in the battles. And besides, the Civil War helped shape what our country is today. Without them, we don't know where we'd be. Some more memorials were dedicated to war heroes who deserve the respect and remembrance that they have. Confederate Robert E. Lee, who was the commander of the Southern Army, wrote in his personal letters that he viewed slavery as an institution, an evil institution, and he did not agree with it. So, and he actually, in his own will, he granted his slaves freedoms. So, keep going. And he also helped individual slaves get their freedom back to Libya. There are over 110 Confederate memorials. 110 Confederate memorials that have been removed since 2015, according to Bridget Katz, who wrote this in the Smithsonian magazine. Sorry. They're more than just metal. These memorials, monuments, they depict, the men of who they were. The Civil War destroyed families. They destroyed neighbors, cities, everything. It was man against man, brother against brother. It was a terrible, terrible thing. They killed all the other civilians and everything. 620,000 people died in this conflict. It's something that needs to be remembered. Something that we as Americans should always remember, that this is what happens when we let our country be divided as bad as it is. Kind of going down. Now, a lot of people consider or think of war memorials and they view just these big statues, but what you don't also see is there's 10 military installations that are named after Confederate commanders, generals, whomever. Go through a quick list of them. This is according to Jeff South. And let's see, we got Fort Hood, Fort Polk, Camp Beauregard, Fort Rucker, Fort Benning, Fort Gordon, Fort Bragg, Fort Pickett, Fort Lee, Fort A.P. Hill, all named after these men. They're a sign of respect for their military prowess and who they were as military leaders, not because they were some racist bigot. Confederate memorials is not a celebration of slavery or racism. To commemorate these men. They're great military tacticians. And then, in reality, everybody views them as racist bigots. In reality, there's only about 3 to 5% of people in the South that own slaves. And that's according to, Al Carroll. And his article, What Percentage of Southern Population Owned Slaves at the Beginning of the American Civil War? So public opinion also shows that only about 27% of the Americans want these monuments torn down. And that is according to, Chris Kahn, who wrote, A Majority of Americans Want to Preserve Confederate Monuments. A little bit stuttering. Actually, and it's actually illegal in some states to tear down these memorials. Alabama passed the Alabama Memorial Preservation Act of 2017. And that is according to Cale Suberwall. So, I know I went through that kind of quickly, but it's who we were, guys. It's an ugly part of our history. I don't agree with slavery. Never have, never will. I chose this topic because I can easily rebuttal against it. But it's something that we need to remember. We need to remember the Civil War. We need to remember the division that drove this country apart and drove it to civil war, where 652,000 people died in. Thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next week.